So today's session the emphasis is on forward fold postures, and we're going to mix them up with twists, which is a really nice way of counterposing those forward folds. And I'd like to start with a quote that I discovered this morning, and it's from the lovely Vietnamese monk named Thich Nhat Hanh. And he always speaks very simply and wisely. He says, happiness lies not in finding what is missing, but in what is present. And isn't that the definition of yoga, really? Very simply put. So we're going to be as present as possible through the class as we go along. And in the way of props, you probably will want your cushion, a chair, a strap, a block, and a yoga blanket. All of those things. So let's begin with some simple breathing and find a posture that supports the best breathing for you. And just going to come a little forward on my sitting bones to do that and rest my hands onto my legs. Once you're comfortable in your seated position, you might want to close your eyes, the better to notice your breathing. And first we just notice the natural breath. And then we're going to overlay a little bit of control on the breath so that when you're breathing in, you're going to breathe at the front of the body from the base of your torso, from the pelvic floor, all the way up to the crown of the head, and breathing in and then exhaling, and from the crown of the head back down to the tailbone. So we'll trace that pathway on each breath and begin in your own time. You can breathe Ujjayi breathing, the audible breathing that's felt at the back of your throat, if that helps anchor your attention. And we'll just do 10 cycles like that in your own time. We want to keep our shoulders relaxed and our facial features passive, soft. Breathing in the breath, if you like it to be a little bit prolonged and feel you actually go taller with the inhalation, we don't lose that good posture on the exhalation. Inhalation drawing upwards through the frontal body with the lift of the pelvic floor, and the exhalation, the pelvic floor still stays a bit lifted. Notice where there's any possible tension that's created as you're breathing in and out through the feet, the legs, the hips. All of that's your base and helping to keep you stable. When you finish your 10 cycles, Just your hands back onto your lap, relaxed. And then we're going to find our way to a lying down position, lying on your back on your mat. Once you're reclining, just 2 feet on the floor, near to your buttocks, your arms just a little distance from the side of your body. And you might just place your hands over the navel center, one above, one below, and once again connect with your breath. Being present, being with your breath, the very definition of yoga. We'll move into the pose Apanasana, or the movements, exercises Apanasana, which emphasize the lower abdominal area. So lifting one foot off the floor, second foot off the floor, place your hands on the front of your knees, and just let your elbows be relaxed at this point, and your arms relatively passive. Then see if you can create a little tilt to your pelvis by moving your sitting bones towards the floor. That does a couple of things for me, which is it internally rotates my legs and widens the sacrum a little bit. We'll try to keep that tilt to the pelvis as much as possible as we begin the movement. On the exhalation, draw the knees towards you. And on the inhalation, knees move away, but the arms are still relaxed. Let's go back and forth in the breathing pattern. Exhale, a little squeeze through the abdominal muscles, perhaps, and inhale, opening up the whole of the front body. I'm using that Ujjayi breathing again, that sounded breath. Just feels like I can deepen the feeling through the energy center of the lower abdomen when I do that. Let's go just 2 or 3 more rounds like this. Just getting into the breathing more than anything. And the next time the inhalation comes, just place the feet back on the floor and release your arms by your side. Step your feet apart a little, a couple of inches apart, and then let's let the knees drop right. Allow the head to rotate to the left if that feels like a good movement for you. And let's go back and forth, right, and then upright, and then left. We can overlay a breathing pattern where on the inhalation your knees are back to the vertical, and the exhalation to either side. And you can also frame the movement with the breath. So starting the inhalation a little bit before you start the movement, and finishing the inhalation after you finish the movement. Similarly, knees go to the side and you started the exhalation before the movement, finishing with a little bit more exhalation after the movement is finished, and then into the inhalation. So the breathing phases wrap all around the movement. The breath is a little bit more prolonged that way, possibly, and deeper. Let's try something else. The next time that you bring the knees up on the inhalation, pause there, and then lift one foot off the floor, second foot off the floor. Bring your arms out wide to the side, turn your palms over, and anchor your hands, your arms, and your shoulder blades. Now we'll do the rotation through the spine with feet off the floor now, and knees to the right, back to center, and knees to the left. The only condition you might put on this, and to protect your back, is to keep the shoulder blades anchored to the floor when you go either direction. So there's a bit of resistance when you're pressing back on the opposite shoulder blade. You might feel this a little further up the spine and more in the area of the upper abdomen. It's where I feel it, in the diaphragm area. As energy centers go, that is Udana Vayu in that area. I started on the right, so I'm going to finish on the left, and then back to center, and 2 feet on the floor again. Bring your arms back in, rest your hands on the navel center, relax your shoulders, and consolidate for a breath or two. Anticipating getting up, let's roll over onto the right side. So knees towards your chest, 2 hands onto the floor, and coming up partially, but not staying up. And then I'm going to roll back onto the floor again into a reclining position. And then let's see what it's like to roll to the other side. 2 hands onto the floor, knees are bent, and coming up partially. Let's do that one more time each side, just to practice a little bit of movement and maybe agility through movement. All right, and then this last time, let's come all the way up to standing onto your mat. And once standing, feet a little bit apart. Come to balance on your both feet, your footprints, with your arms just loose by your side. Feel into your footprints. Lift your toes for a moment and then bring them back down onto the mat. Spread apart, feeling the big toe to the little toe. Let your body float forward over your forefoot and balancing there on the frontal foot and then back onto your heel. Just a way to presence yourself in the most simple of standing positions, forward and back. And then you're arriving mid-arch. Feel your arches, inner arch and outer arch of your feet. Relax your shoulders. We're going to do a simple balancing posture. Maybe it's simple for you. I don't know. We're about to find out. So I'm going to move slightly off my mat onto the carpet here. So I don't have anything between my feet and the floor, a little bit more than I did before. And once you're standing and straight and steady in your balance, let's take chair pose. So bend your knees over your toes, bring your arms up alongside your ears. And then in taking this position, make it more of a chair pose, but just by moving your buttocks back towards that imaginary chair. The buttock bones are lifting slightly so that you keep your neat lumbar arch as much as possible. All right, and then coming all the way up, and legs straight and arms back down by your side. Let's go again, and with another element added. So bringing the arms forward, and not straight up, but just alongside your ears. And then see how you go to balance on your toes, lifting your heels, and staying on your toes and coming all the way up to standing, and then lowering your arms and your heels at a slow pace. Good. Now you know that pathway. Let's go again. And arms up and buttocks sitting back, and then onto your balls of your feet or the backs of your toes, and holding that. You're holding the heel raised, but not holding your breath. And all the way up to standing on your toes, and exhale down. All good things happen in threes, we know that. So here's the third round of balancing, and heels up, and steady balance, good, breathing evenly. Let's hold it a little while longer, and all the way up, and exhale down. What might that be good for? I think for strengthening your toes and for the flexibility of all of them. That's how I notice it. Let's do one more balancing pose. This is really a simple one, but it's got its own challenges. I think it's called tandem, and we're going to place one foot in front of the other. So you're going to be heel to toe. It doesn't matter what side you start on. So I've got one foot in front of the other, heel to toes, and finding my balance there. Side one. Let's see what it's like with the other foot in front. Good. Notice if you tensed up to do that. See if you can stay relaxed in your upper body. Good. And then let's just have your feet alongside each other. Pause for a moment. Maybe shake that out if that felt a little bit intense. And next time we do it, let's do it with the arms out to the side. So, arms wide, one foot in front of the other. And test and see whether that helps you keep your balance a little bit more. Although I think we were doing pretty well there. And switching. Steady. And then why don't we just try walking? So one foot. You're like the tightrope walker, and especially with the arms out to your side, the side like that. And walking one step. But instead of reversing to come back, just walk backwards. How does that work? A little shaky on my part, probably not yours. All right. And then releasing your arms and shake a leg. Was it easier with your arms out to the side? I found it to be so. All right, let's work with the chair. So I'm going to take my chair onto the mat. And near to the wall. Doesn't have to be right up against the wall. I've been thinking this week about how important it is to stay mobile. And I used the word earlier, agile. So, as we get older, we stiffen up a bit, or we're lack of exercise or being sedentary. So let's do this really simple step-up exercise. So I'm just going to balance on, I've got my right side facing the wall on my left leg, and right foot up onto the seat of the chair. So side on to the chair and stepping up one foot, stepping down, stepping up, stepping down. And a few goes like that. Okay, not too bad. And then let's go around to the other side. And we're practicing something that's very helpful to be able to clear the chair and lift the leg up like that. And let's continue, so the other leg. You have to do a little bit of motor planning. You have to plan ahead where your foot's going to land and how high to lift your leg. And also, it's always good to stay relaxed while you're doing this. I'm a little more challenged because I'm talking while I'm doing it. Okay, pretty good. Let's add a yoga pose to what we're doing. So back to the original side and facing side on to the chair. I've got my right leg that I'm going to raise up onto the chair. Left foot, turn out a little bit, turn it out about 45 degrees, and then do your step up. I'm about 60 centimeters back from the chair, but that depends on your height too. So if you're shorter, then you might be nearer to the chair. So we've got this position, right leg bent, right knee over your right ankle. And as much as possible, the heels would be in one line. Even though they're in a different level, one line there. Okay, so we got all that set up. Extend your arms out to the side, and you'll be in Warrior 2 pose, or Virabhadrasana 2. Extend the arms long, and then look over the right shoulder to the right. Good. See if you can draw more attention to the weight through the heels. So the left heel and the right heel. Good. That, for me, switches on my leg muscles and my buttock muscles a little bit more. All right, and then releasing, and let's go second side. Take a walk. And right foot turns out a little bit away from the wall behind me at 45 degrees. Left foot up. Good, get your distance, get those heels in a line, and bring your left knee right over your left ankle. Good, and after all that set up, let's add the arm extension. And on this side, and I meant to do it on the first side, see if you can bend your knee a little bit more, flex that knee, and lean out towards the left, and then back towards the right. So transferring the weight more onto your left foot, and then to your right foot. And go back and forth like that just for a few more times. And then see if you can arrive at the place where it feels like your weight's distributed, left foot, right foot, with a strong pressure through your heel bones again. And then the chest is high, the shoulders dropped, look along your left arm, at the same time as extending back to your right arm. Good. And then a little bit of that motor planning to step down, and left foot down, and around to the right side. All right, and then let's add one more challenge here, and right foot up onto the chair. Right shin bone perpendicular. And then let's lean over the right leg and place your right elbow just above your right knee. Turn your palm up towards the ceiling. I'm going to keep my left hand on my left hip for a moment and then adjust my shoulders and turn from right to left. Good. Last of all, bring the left arm up towards the ceiling. We'll pause there and adjust the right arm a little bit more. Feel where your right shoulder blade is and bring it forward towards the right side of your chest, front chest. All right, let's add the arm stretch. Turn your palm towards the right side and extend that arm overhead. Good. You might check before we move out of the pose, is your weight distributed right foot, left foot? Are you breathing evenly? And inhale and come up. And right foot down, other side. All right, gauging distance, gauging your knee bend, left arm, left knee, just above your left knee, palm upwards, right hand, right hip. So when your palm turns out, thumb down a little bit, then you can turn your arm out, your shoulder out, and then right arm up towards the ceiling. That might be where you want to stop, if depends on your shoulder movement. But if possible, then turn your right palm to the left and bring that arm overhead. Good. At the moment, I'm looking straight forward. Just be kind to your neck. If you can rotate your neck, look upwards. Feel the distribution of weight again. Find your breath. Holding the pose a little longer, but not holding the breath. Beautiful. And here we come, and out of the pose, and stepping down lightly. Good. Let's put the chair to the side for a minute or two. We'll get back to it. And let's take a position at the front of the mat for some slow salutes to the sun. So, feet slightly apart. Your comfortable stance, forefoot, heel, feel into them. Draw the thigh bones up towards the hips. Extend the arms long through the elbows. Bring your hands together in prayer position in front of your chest. That's our starting position. Really simple salutes. And then with an inhalation, release your arms by your side. A big sweeping movement, circular movement, bring your arms up overhead. And exhale, dive forward into forward bending. Take the front of your shin bones just below your knees. Get a good handhold there. Lift your chest and lengthen the frontal body forward. Draw the navel up, shoulders back. Then flexing your knees a little bit. Bring your hands down to the floor. Step back, downward facing dog pose. Good. And take several long breaths there. As you deepen the breath, allow the navel to lift up on the exhalations and feel your way into those lower abdominal area, the area above the navel center as you exhale. All right, and then taking a walk forward. Hold your shin bones again just below your knees, straighten your arms. Telescope your chest forward. Feel into your back body where your shoulder blades are. And then take a gentle forward bend, knees slightly flexed. We're going to take a movement of the arms out to the side to come up. Bend your knees, inhale all the way up. You might want to look up here and exhale, arms back down by your side. Back to home position, your hands in front of your chest. And going again. Inhale. Might tilt your chin, look up. Exhale, diving forward. Really gentle, knees bent. Hold the legs again. Open the chest. Feel the back a little more concave where your shoulder blades are. And then step back, downward facing dog pose. Give time to consolidate. Feel the weight on your hands through the finger pads pressing down. And then lengthening through the spinal column. The tailbone lifts a little bit as you extend the legs straighter and straighter. Take a walk forward. And following, retracing our steps, inhale, hold your legs, lift up. Exhale, drop. Arms are going to help you open your chest and lift your chest all the way up to standing. And exhale, arms by your side. Let's go 2 more cycles. And starting hands over heart. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale with the chest lifted and extending forward. Exhale, drop. Take your feet back, downward facing dog pose. 1 or 2 more breaths, lengthening breaths. Arms, spine, backs of your legs. Walking forward. Head up, inhale. Head down, exhale, knees bent. Push through the feet to come up, all the way up. And we'll go 1 more cycle after this. In breath. Whoops. Out breath. In breath, lengthen. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. 1 more long breath there. Take a walk forward. Uttanasana is the pose head up. Uttanasana head down. And then plant your feet, swing your arms wide. And back to standing, arms just loose by your side. Tadasana. All right, we're going to come back to using the chair again. So, interspersing in this practice back with twists. Let's take a side sitting position on the chair. I'm going to have my right side facing the back of the chair. This is a lovely way to do a twist. I think people do it even spontaneously sometimes if you're sitting long hours in a desk position in an office. And all we need to do here is just seated, both hands onto your lap or onto your legs, feet close together, just a little bit apart, parallel, and then bring your hands onto the back of the chair. Once you've done that, then you've initiated a rotation through your spine, and you can add the movement starting with the upper body and rotating your head, your shoulders, and your rib cage. It's helpful to move with your breath. So we tend to elongate on the inhalation and rotate on the exhalation. Take 1 more cycle of breathing there. And then just spin around on your chair Side 2. You're 2 feet on the ground again and legs parallel. The initial movement, when your hands are resting on the back of the chair, we're not levering with the strength of the arms, but just allowing there to be a natural movement. You can turn your head and then let the shoulders follow your eye gaze as you look to the left, and turning from the upper body through the rib cage. And as you're turning, the right knee comes a little forward, the left knee retracts. So it's going to keep the sacrum in a line, not twisting. Good. And then releasing, let's go back to the original side. So our chair twist, sometimes called Bharata Vajasana on the chair, and facing right side to the back of the chair. Once you place your hands onto the back of the chair, lift your elbows a little bit out to the side. So as you spread your wings here, feel the shoulder blades respond to that movement. Really, the shoulder blades are as much part of the rotation, important in the rotation, as the spinal column, and will affect the spine. And so feel on the right side, right shoulder blade comes in a little bit, left shoulder blade widens out to your elbow. One more breath there, assured in breathing. Lovely. And then let's go last side. And once you adjust the arms in that manner, feel into that in the back body. The back of our bodies is often mysterious to us until we check into the sensations there. So feel this rotation through the upper part of your back, through your shoulder blades. And left shoulder blade comes in a little bit towards the spine, right shoulder blade out. Making the pose about feeling and sensations means that brings you into presence, the presence of your body. And then release. And then once facing towards your legs again, let's turn on the chair and sit relatively normally on the chair, except that you're bringing your sitting bones a little closer to the edge. Feet move slightly forward. And then simply lean onto your elbows, so elbows just above your knees. And you've already initiated a very good forward bend, one that's supported. Have your feet a little bit wider than the chair legs. And then, as you did in the salutes to the sun, lengthen the frontal body. Feel like the two sides of the navel are even lengthening. The waist is narrowing as you come forward. And then when you've gone as far forward as you can, bring your hands down onto your legs. They're going to land wherever they land. So at the moment, my forearm lines up with my lower leg bone. And I'm finding that I can go a little bit farther. You might be at your limit, in which case then just pause there and feel the sensations of where you arrived. Otherwise, you can bring your arms on the inside of your legs and even walk your hands back towards the chair legs, hold the chair legs. So we're doing a semblance of Kurmasana pose. Kurma is the turtle pose because the back takes the shape of the tortoise shell. See if you can still get the sense that the ribs are coming forward and outwards, and the tailbone still lifting. All right, so we've done a really lovely forward stretch there. Let's come out in stages. So one elbow onto your knee, second elbow, press your arms and come all the way up. Roll all the way up to a seated position. Good. And let's fit in one more rotation, one that I like very much. I'm going to face my chair towards the camera and then get onto the chair backwards. So I've seated myself facing the back of the chair and my feet wide out to the side and hands resting onto the top of the chair. Once you've done that, then sitting upright, we're going to do our rotation to the right side first. Rest your left arm, your forearm onto the top of the chair, parallel with the top of the chair. Bring your right hand back behind you onto the seat of the chair. So I'm going to grab the seat of the chair with my right arm. So it's a gentle rotation, and we can make it more for the upper part of the back. I'm going to bring my left arm a little more forward, and then my right arm, when I raise it, I'm going to open it wide out to the side. So this kind of welcoming gesture, eloquent gesture of extending the arm out to the side. And then back behind the line of the body if you can. Good. And then releasing and coming back and reversing directions, and the right forearm on the top of the chair, and left hand grab the back of the chair. When I've done that, reminding myself of my best yoga posture, sitting a little forward on my sitting bones. Move your right arm across a little bit more to the left side. And then lifting the left arm and then opening that arm in a grand gesture. Good. So now you know the pathway. Let's repeat that and see what it's like all over again. Actually, they're never all over again when you repeat a pose. So creating the pose newly, and then the left arm resting on the top of the chair. Open the right arm out. Now notice if you've leant forward, and bring yourself back up so that you're sitting ribs over the hips, shoulders over the ribs, head directly above the shoulders, and then allow your eyes to turn too and look back at your thumb. Can you see your thumb? And then let's go left side and right arm. I think this is a really nice rotation for the upper body. Sometimes we overlook that. So right arm resting and sitting upright, tall. Left arm, open it up in that grand gesture, out to the side. And feel into the upper part of your back where your shoulder blades are. Unhunch your shoulders as if they've crept up. And then back to center. And just fold your arms onto the back of the chair and rest your head onto the tops of your hands or the tops of your forearms. Taking pause there in this moment of relaxation. And still, you come forward into a slight forward bend so as not to bow your back. Lift your tailbone a little bit and lengthen your spinal column again. And how best to do that? You might lift the front of your chest, the top chest, with your shoulders relaxed. All right, and then let's leave the chair for the time being and put it to the side. Now I've got a couple of props that I can sit on. so that I'll have a platform to sit on the floor to help my posture. And I've got a 3-fold blanket, so I'll start with that. Or you could sit on a bolster. So once seated, extend your legs out and find a comfortable seat there with your legs extended. Maybe support yourself with your hands by your side. And let's connect with the shoulder blades again. So if you bring the tips of your shoulders all the way back and squeeze the shoulder blades in towards the center of the spine, you're likely to feel a little bit tense there. However, you've created a good opening through the front chest and the collarbones wide. So let's see if we can relieve some of that tension in the upper back as you do that by feeling the outside edges of the shoulder blades supporting the upper part of your back so they sit neatly onto the ribs at the side. So feel those two movements where the shoulder blades connect with the back ribs towards the center spine and the outer ribs, and then drop your shoulders. Let's move into a simple forward stretch, Janu Shirsasana. Keep your left leg straight and bend your right knee out to the right side. When you've done that, if your knee is elevated, then support it with a rolled blanket or a block underneath that knee. We just want you to be able to relax your groin on the inside. So, support yourself with your left hand out from your left hip. When you press your left hand down, your fingertips or your palm, you can lift up that left side of your body and turn from right to left. Then bring your right arm up towards the ceiling. That's kind of a gentle, graceful movement. And then on an exhalation, reach for the left leg. But we're not staying there. We're going to keep moving. Inhale and stretch up. And exhale and just touch your leg. We're slightly rotated towards the left leg. Inhale. That's a wavy movement with your right arm. I picture a piece of kelp just kind of rolling around in the surf. And once you bring the arm up this time, then release it down to the floor. And let's add a rotation here. Actually, why don't we hold that movement now? So right hand, right leg. Bring it on to the outer right leg, and then turn a little, turning from right to left. Lengthen the spinal column from the very base of the spine and up through the thoracic, the back of the neck. And often these forward positions are called forward bends, but they're really not forward bends in a careful and safe way of doing these movements. They're more outward direction and lift through the front of the chest than bowing the back or bending the back. So see if you can get the sense of that lengthening rather than bowing. And then come on up. And let's add another rotation here. Turn towards the bent leg. Bring your hands on either side of that right knee. And then slide your hands out. Let the left buttock come off the floor. Support yourself with your weight onto your hands and turn the diaphragm and the upper belly muscles and maybe even a little bit of the lower belly muscles to the right side. Keep your chest high and light and moving forward. And then slide your hands back, and let's go second side, Janu Shirsasana. Left leg bent, right leg straight. And preserve a little bit of space between the left foot and the right thigh. And once the right hand rests alongside your right hip, you can use that hand, that arm, to press down and elongate the spine even more. And then let's take left arm up, and with the breath, the arm's more passive than extending it. And then once we bring the hand down this time, let's reach and hold the leg towards the outside of the right leg, left hand, right leg, and then press your right hand a little bit and turn through the upper part of your chest and the diaphragm a little bit more towards the right side. Relax the left leg, relax the left groin, let the leg drop out and turn out. All right, and then release back to the rotation all around towards the left side. Bring your hands around and place them on the outside of the left knee. And then go forward as much as you want, or as much as your body will allow. And we're still rotating, so from right to left. This feels really good in the upper abdominal muscles, turning them, kind of wringing them out. Good. Pull up. And then finally, let's extend the both legs straight in Dandasana. And then let's take half Virasana with the right leg. And in that bent leg position, I've got my support that I've been sitting on, a threefold blanket. From both legs straight, I'm going to bend my right leg back. This is very much a knee movement. So if this feels unkind to your knee, it might be better for you to go back to Janu Shirsasana, and that's fine. But if you can follow along with this, your right leg bent. Now I'm tilted over to the left side, so I'm going to support myself onto that folded blanket just underneath the left buttock. And a yoga block will do really well too. Yoga block being very firm platform to sit on. So here we are, right leg bent, my right foot's alongside my right hip, toes pointing backwards. And now let's follow that breathing pattern. Support yourself with your left hand out from your left hip. Bring your right arm up, and that wavy arm, and reaching out and touching down wherever you can along your leg. And the breath is all important here. We're still rotating a little bit towards the left leg. Find your own breathing pattern that works for you. Feels graceful. All right, and then let's see what it's like to hold that position through lifting rather than bending forward. So where do we lift from? And for me, I sense this very much at the lower part of my torso, the lowest part of my torso, lifting up. So the frontal body lifting up, shoulders rolling down. And the more that I do that lifting up, I can actually increase the forward momentum. All right, and that might be enough there. Let's add a twist to what we're doing, and then turning towards the bent leg. Bring your left hand onto your right knee. right hand behind you. You can use your two hands to sit more upright now. So very tall through the spinal column and turning towards the bent leg. I'll just walk my right hand back a little bit further, turn the right shoulder back. Good. And then let's face forward and change sides. Just delicately unfolding that right leg, and then you've taken the other option if the knees are a bit difficult in that position, but otherwise left leg bends back and folding back, and right buttock supported. So settle in there and find your balance there, and we're ready to move. Left hand supports alongside the outer left. I might have done this the other way. Yes. Right hand supports outside the right hip. Bring the left arm up, stretch up, reach out, touch down. And full inhalation, full exhalation, precipitating the movement. And then let's see what it's like as a static position, where you're holding along the leg or holding the back of the foot. Right hand still pressing down to help you initiate that lift of the front of the spine. So no yoga pose is ever really static. It's always supported by the breath. And as long as you're breathing and the diaphragm is moving, the pose has a gentle flow to it. So very aware of the influence of the breath and where you are, even though it apparently you're holding the pose. All right, and then let's release, and then turning towards the bent leg, right hand, left knee on the outside, left hand behind you. This is your chance to lift up, and the front of the body lifting up to the shoulders, and maybe turn your gaze and look up, just as another impetus to lift the breastplate. Good. And then facing round to center and happily releasing that left leg into a stretch. I'm going to come off my support completely. Just feel what it feels like to sit on the buttock bones. All right. And then the last of the forward movements here is sometimes called the splits, a wide position. And I'll bring myself back onto the blanket support. If I have a folded blanket like this, in this particular pose, it's really helpful for me to sit on just a corner of the blanket rather than the long way that I had it. So popping hips up onto that corner of the blanket, or wherever you're able to sit, and sit upright on however much support, maybe on a bolster or cushion. So here we are in the splits. Reach under and draw the buttock bones, the flesh of the buttocks back from the buttock bones a little bit, and create a forward tilt towards the pubic bone. Supporting your hands onto the floor and sliding them forward slightly. When we go forward like this, there is that emphasis once more that we've been underscoring through the whole of the session, that the spine is there to elongate more than bend. Pubic bone to the jugular notch, lifting up and lifting out. Then check your leg stretch. Your knees might be bent at this point if your hamstrings are very tight. So be gentle with them, be kind with them. And if it's there for you, and you have that flexibility, then extend right out to the center of the heels. I find that little by little, and even talking as much as I am, I can still come forward a little bit more, but not down. More outward and upward, and extending through the heel bones. In the last part, and in the beginning of the session, let's see if we can tie that in. See if we can create a lift through the pelvic floor. So even though your heels are supporting you, the backs of your legs, the sitting bones, there's kind of like a rebounding of energy up through the pelvic floor, through all those vayus and right up to the top of the chest and the heart center. And then let's give those hamstrings a break and bring your hands on the inside of your knees, lift up and draw the soles of your feet together. I'm going to turn my support around so that I'm sitting right on the edge of the blanket support, with soles of the feet together. Move your heels out a little ways from the tops of your legs to create a diamond shape of your legs with a right angle behind your knees. Once more, tailbone lifts a little bit, come to the frontal edges of your sitting bones, and just merely rest your arms onto your lower legs. Relax your chest, relax your facial features, and come to a quiet internal space. In the next part of what we do, we'll do a passive pose and on a cushion of some kind to support your back. So moving into a more reflective part of the session. From Baddha Konasana, lift the outside of your knees, this time one hand each knee, extend the legs forward. And then take up that support. Let me show you first. I have, as you would expect in a yoga studio, all kinds of props. But I want to create support for the upper part of my back. So this dorsal thoracic area where my shoulder blades are. And it's a version of Setu Bandhasana, the little bridge pose. So we use that support between the shoulder blades. So I've lifted my buttocks up onto this long support and created an opening through that upper part of my back. My shoulders are a little bit lifted off the floor, and my buttocks are supported here. So you still want your hips in line with the torso. So if your cushion isn't long enough, you might put the yoga block underneath your sacrum. Or if your bolster is a longer bolster, then it will support the whole of the torso and the buttocks. Legs are bent and feet on the floor. So give a little bit of time to set yourself up in your most comfortable way. Using the soft prop like this means that I can yield the weight of my body, let it just drop into that comfortable softness. And even though my shoulders are a tiny bit elevated from the floor, if I were to stay here probably for 10 minutes or so, I would let go enough in any tension in my upper back, that my shoulders would drop to the floor. But at the moment, that's fine the way they are. You find your comfort place to whatever degree you can. If supporting your back is not comfortable for you, it's fine to take constructive rest position, where your torso is lying flat and your legs bent with your feet on the floor near to your buttocks. And then settling in, letting the front body drop into the back of your body. The back of the body melting down into the props or the floor. When your eyes are closed, the eyelids soft over your eyes. The eyes are dropping back towards the back of your skull. The eyelids releasing down towards your eyelashes, towards your cheekbones. And returning attention to your breath. The breath being such a constant has never left, but now you're presencing the breath. We might feel the breath in the base of the throat. Or there may be a little bit of congestion there, and you can swallow lightly to release that. We'll take 1 or 2 more minutes here. Let's see whether we can move the cushion or the bolster out from underneath us without disturbing our bodies or minimally disturbing our bodies. And once that's done, then buttocks back to the floor, the whole torso, the back of your head, your upper limbs supported. And let's move into the yoga relaxation, extending one leg out, the other leg out. You may find that it's quite comforting for you to support with the cushion or the bolster underneath the backs of your knees. And for the maximum of self-care here, just adjust the shoulders down and tuck the shoulder blades under a little bit. And then you may want to lift your tailbone and lengthen the base of your spine towards your legs and your feet. And then once you've done that, releasing so that you're supported through the back body.
Let every bit of tension go out of your facial features. So there's a release of any furrowing between the brows and any tightness through the eyes. In fact, soften the eyes from the inner corners to the outer corners. The lips lightly touching and the tongue drop back to rest lightly on the lower part of the mouth and towards the back of the throat. Let your attention alight on the breath again and feel the soft flow of your breath. Wherever that occurs with the greatest clarity for you, in whatever part of your body. And then merely let the breath come and go, unfettered, completely natural. And if you wish, you can, of course, linger longer, as they say, in your relaxation. Or if you wish to focus now in coming up, take it in stages. Create a little movement through your hands and your feet, your head side to side. And then only when you feel completely ready to do so, take your sweet time and roll over onto one side, bending your legs and folding your arm over. Take your fetal position for another couple of breaths. And then, as we've done earlier, support yourself completely with your hands to slowly come up to a seated position. And then we'll take the ritual way we have of completing the class, so the hands in prayer position or hands folded over the heart center. Just bow your head a little bit towards your heart and feel at the same time that it's easy to elevate your heart, to open your heart. There's a lovely practice that I've done. Sometimes it's called the friendship practice, and it's based on the Buddhist blessings. So take these for yourself and for everyone. May we be safe and protected from inner and outer harm. May we be happy and contented. May we be healthy and whole to whatever extent possible. And may we live with ease. Namaste. Thank you.